Welcome, welcome. Here we are with another episode of the Slack Doctors. I am Dr. Chip.
I am Dr. Bob.
And it's another kind of half rainy, half sunny day here in Florida. I almost took the bike again, and I would have got wet, but not as wet as last time. But there was definitely a little bunch of puddles left on the ground. Anyway,
I have to say, it's a very lovely day here in Gainesville.
yeah, I was going to say,
Like
you
72,
can tell it's
73. The skies are blue, and I don't see any clouds out there. It's nice.
Yeah, you can tell it's in the process of clearing up here, but just not quite enough to where I could have brought the bike. It was just a little too sketchy. But anyway.
So have I ever bitched about the trees in Gainesville, the amount of trees and the types of trees?
No.
Specifically the live oak.
Oh,
So
yeah,
there's
they have
this
a lot of those.
giant live oak in my parking lot, which helps shade the apartment. I got to give it credit for that. But unlike trees up north that shed all their leaves in the fall, this thing sheds all its leaves and its pollen in the spring, right when all the rains are coming. So it's ridiculous, the amount of leaves that fall. And the reason I say this all set all this up is because I kind of pulled a dick move the other day, not on purpose, but I had to go to the store. The whole hood of the car was covered in leaves, and I brushed everything off. They were all down, like up by the windshield, down in the air intakes and the grills and everything.
Right.
Like, this is not good. This is going to be an issue. So I go straight to the gas station, put $2 in the vacuum thing, and start vacuuming up the leaves. And before I got done, I'm pretty sure I destroyed this vacuum and completely clogged the shit out of it. This thing was meant to vacuum like the inside of your car. It was never meant to vacuum giant mats of wet leaves and pollen.
Yeah. You clogged the gutters on that thing for sure.
Yeah, I got about 80% of it done, and then I just dug the rest of it out with my hands. And 2 days later, it was full again, but still, I feel a little bit bad about it.
Well, yeah, you got to stop parking under the tree right now. Is that your one spot you have to park in?
It's not my one spot, but there's really not a spot in this lot that it doesn't have tree coverage,
Oh,
I could park around the backside of the building. I could do that.
Yeah, there you go. It's funny.
And the pollen itself is neon green.
Yeah,
it just
really?
stains everything.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's.
I was going to say, I
I'll
have
take
a similar
pictures
problem at my place, but with the mango tree, and it's whatever little seeds come off the mango tree is like just coating all the walkways it's like walking around on like Rice Krispies or something.
I just saw a short the other day on YouTube of some Asian woman cutting open and showing this. Supposedly, they now can make a mango with no seed. I strongly suspect it was AI. I don't think that they have a seedless, pitless mango.
Well, I don't know how they have seedless anything. How does it reproduce? How do they make more of them? I don't know. Who knows?
Well, it itself doesn't reproduce, and in one sense, that is kind of a perfect gold standard for the producers of it, because it can't be, you can't buy one, take the seeds out, and then make more for free. You literally have to just keep buying the product. Monsanto loves stuff like that.
How do they do it?
I don't know.
Grafting or something, or I don't
Well,
know.
I mean, they've been reducing the amount of seeds and pith and stem and inedible portions of fruit for hundreds of years just through genetic, just crossbreeding and going for favorable traits. But I do think that there's a little bit more to it now. Like if you look at old Victorian paintings of fruit, especially melons and watermelons, they look drastically different. There's huge amounts of seeds in them and dividing sections. Like it's not red all the way through like the way a watermelon is now.
Not only that, I mean, something as new as corn, since, Europe didn't know about corn till about what, 14th century. And at the beginning,
after the Columbian Exchange.
I mean, at the beginning, when they first had corn, it was nothing like the corn we have today. You couldn't just make it and eat it off the cob. There was no. You had to. It was more like wheat. You had to grind it up and do something with it. Yeah, you couldn't just eat it.
And it looked very much like a wheat stalk. It was called teosinte.
Right. Yeah, anyway.
Now there's all kinds of corn.
True. What do you think? You want to hit the phones first or do some clips first?
We could do the phone first. I think there's only 2 messages.
I was going to say, no, I left a couple. I remember what one of them is about, I think. Can't remember what the other one is about.
All right, we'll start with the first of the 2.
Well, it looks like Kim Jong Un has won North Korea's parliament election with 99.93% of the vote. I don't believe that for 1 second. Who would be stupid enough to be the 0.07% of the people to vote against that guy? And who would they vote for?
All right, that is a really good point. obviously the term election is being used loosely here,
Well,
but I think they just released those stats so that they can say it wasn't 100%. I mean, who knows?
well, here's the
But
thing.
yeah, who was the other guy?
Yeah, well, not only that, but here's the thing. After I left that message, have you seen the poll they came out with on CNN lately about MAGA supporters?
No.
Now, see, I don't even know if this is real or not, but they got a guy on CNN showing a poll where it says MAGA supporters polled as to who still supports the president or not, and it says 100% still support Trump.
Yeah. I mean,
There's no 100% is, first of all, that's ridiculous. There's no way
said
nobody said, nah, I don't know.
all polls are inherently flawed because it's people that are willing to answer a poll.
Well, you also know the Elsons just bought CNN, right? Whatever it was they just bought was all HBO and CNN and MSNBC now. Like even Rachel Maddow now is like working for the, openly working for the Zionists. And now I think that, I don't know if that was one of the clips I sent you or not, but she had a clip where she was blaming everybody for all the problems in the Middle East and never once mentioned Israel. The whole thing. It was a Jimmy Dore clip, as a matter of fact. They were bragging on her pretty bad. But I thought that was hilarious. And who's going to vote against Kim Jong Un in Korea and then just like hope they don't come visit you and say, what do you think you're doing? It's like, yeah, no, nobody's going to vote against that guy.
Right.
Yeah.
Here we call it throwing your vote away. There it's called throwing your life away.
Yeah, exactly. Throwing your future away at the very least.
And also, don't they do the 3-generation thing? Like if you fuck up and you get in trouble, they get you like your kids and your parents.
No kidding.
Like it's
it's almost like a caste system, huh?
Yeah, well, they believe that like treason and whatnot is genetic or something. So you got to go. Your parents, they're the ones that taught you to be a traitor, and your kids got to go because you probably already taught them to be one. So,
speaking of which, and I don't know if this is true, but I saw a clip. I don't think it's true, but it was of Kiriakou. How do you say his name?
Kiriakou?
The CIA
Yeah, John Kiriakou. But he was saying they've arrested Tucker Carlson. But I think that was AI. I don't think that's true. But they're definitely investigating Tucker Carlson for talking to Iranians before the beginning of the war or whatever. But I mean, first of all, his dad was in the CIA. Second of all, his son still works for Fox News. Wait a minute. If that's generational, then we got a problem. Anyway.
So I'm reading a headline that says the TSA agents are quitting and the airports will close. At what point do you think capitalism might rear its ugly head and, somebody might say, hey, maybe the airlines should be paying for people to screen your bags and make their airlines safe. And while we're at it, maybe they should start using their own traffic controllers that the airlines pay, that the airlines that make all the profit instead of the government.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm wondering if they're going to let them shut down the airports because of the TSA. I mean, if I was the president of an airline, I'd be like, wait. We kind of need this money.
Right. Well, they have been delaying and canceling hundreds of flights. Miami, Atlanta, particularly.
You would think one of these guys that run an airline, who specialize in maximizing profits and making money, right? Isn't that their job?
The precedent has already been set with the airlines, with the bailouts. It's one of those, quote, too big to fail. They know that they will always be bailed out and they'll always be rescued.
But even for their shareholders, wouldn't you at some point go, listen, we'll take care of it. You guys can, we'll get our own guys. We'll probably do it faster and better, since the government's doing now, so it's going to be inefficient and horrible. Let the airlines do it. They'll do it faster and better, screen you, boom, bing, bang, get you on the plane in no time, no lines. Why are we still doing this? It's just...
And you can't personally hold it against the TSA employees that are not coming to work after not getting paid.
No, they're just, they're government employees. They're getting their paycheck. They don't give a shit. Not their fault. Anyway, It's just like, Why don't they? Well, airlines, aren't they making money? I mean, if they're not making money, don't they have to charge more or something? I mean, somehow this has got to change. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, but you know what? Flights were not being delayed or canceled out of those airports. The charters. People own jets, and they're still fine. They can still fly.
Oh, sure, yeah. They don't even have to go through TSA, I don't think.
No, and I have seen some articles and stuff about some airlines getting rid of more of their economy seats and bougieing up their first class because they make more money by selling less tickets to people in first class than they do by packing the back of the plane.
It's better to have empty seats in first class?
No, it's better to have more first class seats available and cater to luxury.
If they're going to sell them, especially, yeah. I would make the whole damn plane luxury if they have to, but I mean, it's going to get expensive to fly. You're not going to have,
right.
You're not going to have low income people flying
when
anymore.
Economics get bad enough, oftentimes the poor cannot afford to feed themselves, but it has to reach a complete endpoint before the rich can't afford to treat themselves.
Oh, yeah, and we're far from that.
Always money to be made in catering to the ultra wealthy and dealing with them.
Hey, listen, Amtrak needs business. If they have to make it too expensive for regular people to fly, so be it. Get some high-speed rail going or something.
Yeah, Amtrak is horrible. Trying to plan anything or any kind of.
I just saw something where a guy supposedly bought a ticket. I think there's a brand new. It was like a new train. I don't know if you could take your car with you, or if it was just like a luxury train, kind of like a little more expensive, and it had a nice food and a nice dining car and stuff like that. And I forget where it went, but I don't know. There's a whole like half-hour thing about it on YouTube or something like that. It was like, oh, that don't look that bad. I mean, other than the fact that you are in a train going slow as shit, can't be in a hurry. But other than that, didn't look that bad. It was like, oh, that could be pretty nice.
You should check out the Brightline sometime and ride that bitch up to Orlando, and I'll come pick you up.
All right, let's run some clips. We got a ton of them to go through, and they're all
all right. Well, we'll start with the outlier of the ones that I have pulled up. The rest are all pretty much concentrating on a single subject. We've talked a lot on this show about what's going to happen after Iran. We've been hinting about the whole Cuba thing. So here's a little footage of Trump talking about that.
Yes. Person who's Cuban and made a fortune in sugar, von Hool family, right? And this family wants to go back to Cuba to visit it. They haven't been back in like 50 years or something. They largely come from Cuba. And we'll see what happens. They were asking me about that. They want to go back. A lot of Cubans have said, oh boy, would they love to go back. I think Cuba, in its own way, if they're, tourism and everything else, it's a beautiful island, great weather. They're not in a hurricane zone, which is nice for a change.
I like the guy on the left that just
they won't
into
be
his
asking
phone.
us for money for hurricanes every week.
Looking, not paying any attention.
But I think Cuba, all my life I've been hearing about the United States and Cuba. And when will the United States do it? I do believe I'll be in the honor of taking Cuba. That'd be good. That's a big honor.
All right, that's enough of that.
Yeah.
I didn't hear what you said during the clip.
Oh, I was pointing out that the guy on the left over here, I don't know if you can see my mouse. He spent the whole time just staring at his phone. He didn't look up, wasn't engaged in what was going on at all. It's like
maybe he was looking up how many hurricanes have hit Cuba because it's not out of the hurricane zone. What the hell is he talking about? It's firmly planted in the hurricane zone. We're going to keep running clips. You don't have to change it. That's good enough for now. But anyway, that's the part I wanted to point out about that is like, what do you mean it's not in the hurricane zone? It's right in the hurricane zone. It's in the cone half the time. Anyway.
Notice her voice is a few octaves lower. She's not too ugly. She's not too fine, but she's might look about something. Something that's bigger than mine. Bigger love. Lisa.
Yeah, that's the one I wanted you to play.
Big sigh.
What I'm gonna do. Y'all keep on laughing.
You don't have to play the whole thing.
But it slaps. Oh, the sniffles. All right, you're right. That's enough of that one. We can switch to something else.
Well, I just want to make the point that, look, if you get that upset about a song on the internet, maybe kicking down doors and pointing guns at children isn't your line of work. Maybe you should go do something else. Looking for criminals that don't exist in places, you know, maybe that's not your thing. But that's all I really had to say about the Afroman thing. I think it's great, personally. It's
Well, this
amazing.
one of the other clips has got another one where somebody's crying on the stand.
Really? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the pound cake guy.
Oh, the one they're talking about his
You're
wife.
claiming that is the defamation statement is that he said
Oh,
he
yeah.
had sex with your wife.
Yes,
And that's painted you in a false light.
it's caused tremendous pain in my life.
I'll get to that. We have to go through false light first. So does it paint you in a false light?
Yes, that my wife is cheating on me with Mr. Foreman.
But we all know that's not true, correct?
I don't know.
Wait, you don't know if your wife's cheating on you or not?
You want to go there?
No, I just want to ask that question because you said we don't know. I just
Been
need
with
to
that
know yes or
woman
no.
since middle school.
I know.
I would hope she wouldn't. But you know what? Once somebody puts it out there, it's out there. And it's a problem.
So it's something we cannot verify the truth of?
Oh,
Is it a thing that can be verified, true or false?
Ask your client.
Yeah, these people are not, they're not mental giants. The whole decision to even sue this guy was so not well thought out at all. It's just hilarious. And I actually watched another clip with this chick that's a lawyer, and she explained it. She goes, look, for defamation, you have to prove that what they're saying is not true. And she's like watching this testimony. She's going, right, that's the right thing to say, right thing. And then they ask him, well, did your wife sleep with Afroman? And he goes, I don't know. And she goes, no, the answer is no, she didn't. Now you've just lost the case. You know, they're complete morons. These people have no idea what they're doing. Anyway.
right. They weren't all just clips of the actual. I mean, if we want to hear him, I think this is the one where he's actually talking.
Oh, where he's
Explaining.
unapologetic. Yeah, that's a good.
Yeah,
You know, it's up to you if you want to play it. I don't care.
Yeah, we got to pull it up.
Predators and the victim at the same time.
So what they did, searching your house, gave you the right to do everything you.
Under the circumstance that I got freedom of speech, after they run around my house with guns and kick down my door, I got the right to kick a can in my backyard, use my freedom of speech, turn my bad times into a good time. And I think I'm a sport for doing so because I don't go to their house, kick down their doors, flip them off on their surveillance cameras, then try to play the victim and sue them.
And in a nutshell, yeah, that's it. I saw footage of him outside the courthouse, like being interviewed as soon as he came down the steps. And he said something about when life gives you lemons, make lemon pound cake.
Have you seen the memes of Afroman?
No.
Well, which is funny is he did run for president in 2024. So it'll
definitely help.
It'll be 2 cycles in a row if he actually does it.
That suit would definitely help, I gotta say.
Well, he
It
wore the
reminds of,
suit. He was wearing the same suit in 2024. That's why he has it.
I mean, not in the same physical shape, but it reminds me of Apollo Creed's outfit.
Yeah, right.
With the top hat. James Brown singing "Living in America."
I want you to play that. What's his name? I forget. The one Zionist dude. He makes such a stupid comparison. Oh, what would Reagan do? That's a good one.
Take me just a second.
Oh, and you know, that's funny. One of those I remember that was, I think you just played it. So there's no crying in fascism. He can't.
Yeah.
He can't sit on the stand and Start crying because you're a fascist.
That was the very first clip. Yeah, I just brought it up. I don't know.
The tradition of our greatest peacetime/wartime president. Despite the outrageous media coverage in this country, despite the constant effort under Operation Sabotage by a Democrat Party that is hell-bent on losing this war, that is hell-bent on undermining the commander-in-chief, that is hell-bent on undermining our armed forces, and yes, is giving aid and comfort, propaganda to the enemy, as are individuals who I call the woke right neo-fascists, who are stirring the anti-Semitism pot, who are stirring the trash Christian pot. They are no different than the same voices we heard in the 1930s, and just as disgusting, evil, and reprehensible. All this talk about this war wasn't imminent. Why did we decide now? All this talk about what is the mission? All of this is used to try and obstruct, undermine, dispirit, and divide this nation. At a time when Donald Trump is doing what great presidents.
Sorry. Are you trying to cut in? It's hard for me to hear you.
No.
We didn't say that.
Okay.
Do. Shame on you, Democrats, for what you are doing to this country. You will be remembered forever. You will remember as the isolationists of the 1930s. Shame on you, woke right neo-fascists. You will be remembered as the unpatriotic, anti-American Jew haters that you are. I ask you, what do you think Jefferson and Madison would do in these circumstances today? What do you think Franklin Roosevelt would do in these circumstances today? Or Abraham Lincoln or George Washington or even Ronald Reagan when they didn't have nuclear weapons in Iran? What do you think they would do?
Okay.
They would take action.
We know exactly.
Donald Trump is operating in the tradition of our...
Yeah, there's plenty of footage. I mean, Reagan was a huge supporter of Israel.
We know exactly what Ronald Reagan would do. He would sell the missiles.
Absolutely.
What do you mean, what would Reagan do?
Drugs.
That's like, we know exactly what Reagan would do. Exactly, we're not selling the missiles, are we? Maybe in the back door we are selling the missiles. Who knows?
No, Reagan was absolutely a Zionist, for sure.
Yeah, but he still sold Iran missiles.
Sold a lot of things.
And not only that, who are these Democrats that he's talking about? I don't see any Democrats saying shit about this.
I'm ready for the next one.
I thought that was hilarious. He would call up Ronald Reagan.
Oh,
all right, here we go. This one was the one you sent to me called Why Bother?
You're doomed to fail in the big leagues. Pitch is a breaking ball outside. We had our first challenge, and the call is overturned on a pitch that was right down the middle of the plate that was called a ball. Big zone in the minors, you're doomed to fail in the big leagues.
Yeah,
pitch is a breaking ball out.
All right, so what was the...
Why do we have umpires anymore? Why are we bothering with umpires? All they're doing is adding an element of subjectivity to the whole thing. I mean, I guess you still need them in the NBA and the NFL, but you could definitely get rid of them in baseball. I think they've pretty much almost got rid of them in tennis. Don't they already have like things that call in and out in tennis now? We have the video. Yeah. We have the technology.
We got the instant replay. So
yeah, why are you wasting your time? Baseball does not need umpires anymore at all, anywhere. They can play this whole... Only thing they need umpires for anymore, breaking up the fights. That's it. That's it. So you might as well
never been a fan of baseball.
Me either.
It's never appealed to me.
I like playing baseball. It's kind of fun to play, but I never could watch it. But at this point, I just say replace all the umpires with bouncers. Just get rid of the umpires, put in just big, stocky guys that can break up the fights, and that's all you need. Just have them stand around, and yeah, that's stupid. A few clips, a couple of them are about the school that we've talked about starting. What did we decide we were going to call this school?
I don't think we ever came up with a name for it.
We should come up with something clever for that.
We'd certainly be better equipped than some of what we're about to show here. Some of the books that are available in the school library are more shocking than one might think.
Suck any good lately. What's wrong, Navarro? I think you like a big in your mouth. Ha ha ha. Page 23. The other boy.
Your language is inappropriate. I think you're making our point.
What's the educational benefit of talking about that? Is that going to help someone on the SAT score?
For a small fee, we promise to not have that book in our library.
It might help them on their SAT scores if they can get the instructor off alone somewhere.
Oh, you're putting me out. For what? For asking you to abide by the rules. A board member held up a sign, but the audience couldn't hold up signs. This is tyranny, and we're dealing with a corrupt government system.
I mean, that is insane that something like that would be at a school library, considering when we were in school, like, you couldn't find Catcher in the Rye in the school library.
I never went to the school library. I don't know.
I used to go to the school library a lot. It was one of the only cool parts about the school that I actually liked.
I never went there. But, you know, that's where we can find a lot of customers. Chip and Rum School for the Wayward, I don't know, Rebels or something. I don't know. We'll have to come up with a name.
It's hard to see which one this is. Sure, I'll just share it and see what it is.
Thousands. Every stand-up comedian is like, "Oh, you're Catholic? That's good to child molestation." To whatever degree that that's true.
Oh, another thing that we would do better in our school than these guys.
It's way worse in fucking public schools. I think public schools have a 10x higher rate of child abuse than Catholic Church. So if you're going to be scared of something, you should be scared of public schools. What you need to provide for your children is protection from pharmaceuticals, protection from rapists and bullies, and love, which is not a monetary thing. You just be a normal human being that's not a fucking freak. I don't know how to teach you to not be a freak, but it's probably essential that you start learning.
Yeah, so for our school, I mean, we are capitalists and entrepreneurs, but we like to go with industries where the bar is really low.
Yeah.
Where you can promise not to rape your kids. We can make that unabashed promise.
I went to public school, and I can distinctly remember, I'm not going to name any names, but, you know, if anybody wanted to do some digging, I'm sure they could figure it out. When I was in high school, there was a coach that was people kind of understood that he was a little more flirtatious with some of his female students than he should be.
He eventually got in trouble for that.
He did eventually get in trouble for that, but he got away with it for longer than he probably should have, I think.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, sure.
I don't think when he got caught was the very first time he did it.
No, he'd been doing it for literally decades. Yeah, he'd been doing it. I mean, he didn't get caught till like at least 10, 15 years after we had graduated. But, yeah. I forget his name. I can picture the guy, but I forget what his name is.
I know his name, but again, I'm not going to. I mean, yeah, I don't want to say his name.
But again, we're talking about, you know, K through 6. We're not even, you know, this guy was at least banging 16 and 17-year-olds. We're not even talking. If you want to bang a 6-year-old, you know, a sixth grader, you got a major problem. We're not. Nobody can look the other way on that one. That ain't happening.
All right. Well, now let's play a couple of clips of some.
Wait, wasn't there one about the grant? Play the one about the grant. That's about the school
about
thing too.
Applying for grants?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll check that one out. Right, this one's just a post.
Really?
Stop applying for bank loans like a normal person. Apparently, there are $2.3 billion government grants available right now.
I didn't even send this to you for the show. I just sent it to you for us to look at for us. We should be eligible for some kind of grant. Let's get the government to give us some money.
Yeah, well, I thought you were talking about a grant for the school.
Well, whatever. If we have to call it a school, a church, whatever we got to do. If they want to give us money.
Well, we are willing to learn.
They're giving away money. Let's get on the gravy train, man. What the hell?
Yeah, this is the only thing you sent to me about grants, so I'm assuming I thought this.
Yeah, I forgot. I thought it was about a school thing too, but I guess I was wrong. See, I got to be more. I guess I title these things thinking that's going to remind me of what it is, but they never do. I always look at the title like, "The hell does that mean?"
They're too
Right? I
cryptic.
used your in-show suggestion for the title of the one we just put out today, Producers in Cars.
Oh, right. Yeah, good.
Right? As we were doing the show, you were like, you know what we should call this one?
Right.
Like, we certainly can. Let's see. We've got a couple of cool clips of some really odd musicians. I sent you something I found interesting, and then you responded with something kind of similar.
Yeah, similar but different. Similar, and it's two guys, and it's out there.
Right. This is on a YouTuber's a channel called Rick Beato. He's got millions of subscribers. He's a big-time YouTuber.
You finally stopped emailing me about this. I've been doing this for 10 years on YouTube, and I have never gotten more emails about a band than this band. At first, I see these things pop up, and honestly, I just kind of ignore them because the name of the band is so weird. I'll talk about that in a second, that I didn't even know what they're talking about. I didn't even realize it was a band. I thought it was just a person. It's like, why is somebody emailing me? This started last December, so whatever, 4 months ago. And now, like 25 emails a day. It's insane.
All right, we'll forward ahead here to actually
showing
sample
what he's
the
talking
music.
about.
That's just their interview.
American
Sorry.
French version of it. Let me read.
You should go back and show him saying the name again. That is pretty funky.
Here, angine de poitrine. That's my,
which is French for either heart pain or chest pain. I think it's chest pain.
I thought they said it was something else.
No, I looked it up. It's chest pain or heart pain. It's like,
Interesting.
feel an oncoming heart attack. But now let's skip ahead to some of the actual music.
Snarniez, maybe?
It's like Daft Punk met Primus.
Yeah.
Now, beyond the weird costumes, they are playing microtonal music. Look at the fret spacing on the guitar and the bass. It's not like a normal guitar fretboard.
Nothing about this looks or sounds normal to me. So you're a musician. What does microtonal music mean?
We've talked about this before. Remember me talking about the fact that there's like, all right, so that you got A sharp, B, there's no B sharp, but our normal musical scale is set up by half tones. Well, there are tones in between that. Those are the microtonal. Those are the microtones. So instead of, all right, so from in the space of A to B, there's a lot of little tones in there, and we normally just cut it in half. These guys, I don't know what division they're using. I'm kind of interested myself as to exactly where an octave on that is and how many frets between a note, because it's clearly more than two, which is what everything we ever have dealt with usually is. Most
Well, you
things
made a point about how it's not a regular, looking guitar. Have you ever come across one physically?
No.
A microtonal bass?
No, never. Never seen anything like that, ever.
Right. Well, let's play ahead and listen to a little bit more of it.
Yeah, it's weird.
All right, I'm going to add one more parentage into the mix. It was Primus, Daft Punk, and maybe a little Buckethead.
Oh, you got to put some Devo in there.
Oh, yeah.
How are they playing these things?
I mean, what they're doing.
It's different and it's technically interesting.
I
but
can
is
tell
it
you
that pleasing to the ear. Like
I can tell you exactly what they're doing. They're saying, let's take every song that's ever been a huge hit and do exactly the opposite.
Well, it worked for George Costanza. Let's see.
I'm telling you, that is what they're doing. They're doing everything off time. They're doing everything kind of like out of tune and disjointed. And they're literally everything that ever made any song a huge hit. They're doing the exact opposite.
All right. So after I sent that to you, you responded with that. It kind of reminds me of these guys. So I'll show a little bit.
I've seen these guys for a couple of years. These guys are pretty wild. But it's a little bit more musical, actually, believe it or not. Turn it down a little bit. This is going to get really loud.
Lower it down on the board.
I just want to drive the van.
Yeah, that guy looks like he's got a pretty good gig. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, that slaps. I like that.
That one didn't even have any saxophone in it. The guy's actually a ripping saxophone player. I sent you another clip where the guy was actually going to analyze it, that the guy does a saxophone riff. And the guy's like, holy shit, that's the best saxophone player I've ever heard in my life. Or some shit like that. It's pretty funny. Yeah, I mean,
I like the whole setup. Again, the guy driving looks like he's having way too much fun.
Right. I mean, there's different stuff out there. There's definitely different stuff other than Dua Lipa, or I don't know. I don't even know who's other than, what's her name, Taylor Swift. I don't even know who's on the charts anymore. I looked up the charts not too long ago just to see, it was like, who the hell are these people? And what is this crap that they're passing off as music? It was scary, man. Some of it was actually pretty good, but a lot of it was like, what the flunk is this?
I don't know if we've mentioned it or not on the air. Sad news today, and the passing of Chuck Norris,
Yeah.
A great American. I don't think there was a lot of people that didn't. I mean, even if you didn't like his movies, never any scandal about him. I don't think he was ever involved in any kind of, I can't think of anything. He was married to the same woman for decades.
Yeah.
Generally a good dude.
And supposedly didn't he teach Bruce Lee or something, or trained with Bruce Lee? I know he was in a movie with Bruce Lee, but
yeah, he was friends with him, trained with him, in movies with him. I don't know that he ever trained him in anything. Carlo, this might interest you, that Chuck Norris was Air Force, served in the Air Force.
Something like that. Yeah.
Apparently he was in the Air Force in South Korea, which is where he started developing his interest in martial arts, and eventually went on to have black belts in 7 different styles, or 7 different martial arts.
He's a beast.
I loved his movies back in the 80s when I was a teenager. I can remember
they were kind of
missing
cheesy,
in action.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were cheesy, but they were still fun.
Yeah, true.
I can't remember what it was called. Maybe Invasion USA or something, where he had like this denim vest with twin Uzi submachine guns hanging from little chains, like by his armpits, So he would just grab a hold of both of them, and it was fucking insane. I want to say that movie came out kind of around when Red Dawn came out.
Right, probably.
Much cheesier, campier Red Dawn, more of a one-man wrecking crew kind of thing.
Right. Yeah, to be, taken over. His slot was basically taken over by Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Right.
In the
he might have been one of the last, action star. Like, he might have the only one who actually did compete as a fighter.
Seagal is actually an Aikido a master. He's actually done Aikido.
Seagal never fought in any competition, though.
Yeah, he did. They got footage of him in competition.
Is not really competition.
Good point. All right, good point.
And that's like saying he was, WWE. It's an exhibition, not a competition. I'm not saying there's not athleticism involved.
It's like they were actually fighting. Don't they have actual Aikido fighting tournaments?
Yeah. It looked like they were actually fighting. You are dead on the money. It was well choreographed. Aikido requires a tremendous amount of cooperation.
Oh, I don't know about that. I mean, some of it is effective. Actually, I just saw an old footage of a UFC match. It was actually back when they were doing pure like skill versus skill, and it was a boxer guy, James Toney, against what's his name? I can't remember his name. The old guy from the Marines, not Chuck Liddell, the other guy. Anyway, but in that, it looked like he used an Aikido move to take down Toney. It looked like a Seagal kind of Aikido thing. But anyway,
I don't know. How do you do a wrist lock on a guy with a boxing glove on?
They didn't. No, they had regular UFC gloves.
Okay.
And he got to throw like one punch, and then he got taken down, and that was it.
Those first several UFC things were sheer insanity. Sheer insanity. Watching a sumo wrestler fight against a guy who weighs like 140 pounds.
And then the 440-pound guy wins.
Yeah, but broke his arm in the process and didn't go to the next round of fights.
Yeah, sometimes that was the case.
He broke his wrist hitting him and just kept hitting him with it.
Right. Well, that's where jiu-jitsu made its debut as a must-know sport in or at least must know how to counter sport in the UFC.
Yeah.
Is when Gracie went in there and just won everything. God, why can't I remember that guy's name?
Even though people like to say we're not great in a real world situation because other people will get involved, it still can be great in a real world situation because in a real world situation, you're not taking somebody to a mat. You're usually taking somebody to a parking lot or the corner of a table or a wall or a chair or something. Like the world is full of hard objects that form right angles. The ability to throw somebody into any of those things is pretty useful, I would say.
It's funny. I'm actually back on X after being in jail for a week, but a lot of my algorithm on X has for some reason been street fights, and it seems like everybody that weathers whatever punches that are being thrown, grabs the other guy, picks him up, and throws him on his head, always wins. That's it. That's always the end of the fight. The guy lands on his head, he gets knocked out, and that's it. I mean, it seems like everybody throwing punches left and right. If you can dodge them and weave them and get in there and just pick the guy up, throw him on his head, that's it.
Remember
it's over.
That kid that went internet famous a couple of years ago? It was, I want to say it might have been in Australia or something, but it was this overweight kid in like a middle school, and this skinny kid was picking on him and a jab at him and everything. And eventually the fat kid just loses patience, picks that kid up and slams him on the pavement or concrete. And when that kid got up, he was all kinds of fucked up.
Yeah, that's it. That's the end of the fight. Every time.
Like a drunken
I'm
sailor.
telling you,
like
every time.
Captain Sparrow. Yeah, he was not good.
I mean, let's say even if you don't land on your head, at the very least, your ankle is going to hit this pavement so hard, or your knee.
Oh, this kid landed on his hip.
Yeah,
he was jacked
exactly.
Up right
Something's
in the
going to
center of his body was fucked up.
Something's hitting the pavement. Yeah, that's absolutely the case. Anyway, so we out of clips? Is that we run through them all?
Yeah, that's everything I had pulled up. We might save a couple for next show, but I think that's most of them.
That's fine.
We're getting close to the hour mark anyway.
Well, anyway, we haven't mentioned 904-549-9024 so far today. Be nice to have a call someday.
Yeah.
And we kind of
wishing well to young Ethan in Indiana. He actually just subscribed. I was shocked that he hadn't done it before.
No, yeah, no
subscriber.
Well, it's funny. I was watching that episode with him right before I came, and I'll tell you what, he's not going to like this comment, but he kind of looks like Rabbi Shmuley.
Oh,
he's not going to like that at all, but he does. If you look at him, it's like, yeah, he does kind of got that look.
Right. I wonder if he timed his trip. What is today?
He's out of state, hopefully, now, so he can't shoot me. What's that?
But is tomorrow the first day of spring, or I think it's tomorrow.
I don't know. Is it?
Officially, the equinox, yeah. March 21st.
Oh, probably. Yeah, that sounds about right. Who knows? You know, and that's the other thing. Who knows?
Vernal equinox.
Does the equinox work everywhere? It doesn't seem like this would be the time to plant right now or whatever, or sow, or what is it? The equinox we'd be planting now, right? Planting for the summer, right?
Planting in spring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like the time to be planting here in Florida. Possibly, though. I don't know. We are getting ready to come up to the summer, but I don't know if that cycle works in everywhere. I think obviously it works farther north you go when you have to deal with winters and snow. But down here, seems like stuff is blooming now. You know, I don't know.
The further away from the equator you get, the more drastic the...
Yeah, so obviously at the equator, does it matter when the equinox is?
No. Well, it matters, but much less.
I guess the equinox would mean...
And then in the southern hemisphere, our vernal equinox would be their autumnal equinox. It would be the opposite.
Right,
Our
right,
summer
right.
solstice would
Have
be
you
their
ever been
winter
to
solstice.
You've never been to the south of the equator, have you?
I have not.
You ever go south in your now in the service?
Nope, but I want to.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, everything's
No,
supposedly
the
different
closest
down
would
there.
be the listening to Crosby, Stills, and Nash Southern Cross. That's about it.
But apparently everything's different down there. The water flows different, the opposite direction. I heard a story once about apparently the Rolling Stones for decades couldn't figure out why whenever they went down to South America, they always sounded like shit. And it turns out the polarity is opposite.
Oh.
You got to switch the polarity on all your electronics. You can't have, plus is now minus and minus is now plus. You're doing it backwards. So, yeah, for decades, they couldn't figure out why everything sounded like shit down there. And interesting.
When you guys get time, you should look up Steven Seagal's reggae album that he did.
Oh,
I've seen him play guitar. I didn't know he did a reggae
what does he say? He wants the punani or something in it? I think,
that's got to be golden. That's got to be.
There's great YouTube videos of just like a sampling, a montage or a barrage of Steven Seagal's various accents, because in the same movie, he'll try to sound like he's a black guy from the hood or an Albanian.
No shit.
And then a Jamaican and then an Italian. Yeah, it's horrific.
We've famously
now his straight to DVD, whatever releases, some of the times he just fights sitting down. He doesn't even get up out of the chair. He shoots people and he fights sitting down. It's great.
We've famously already made fun of how he runs. You've seen how he runs, right?
Even when he could run.
No, when he runs, he's like he has to paddle like he's running like a dog.
Yeah, but he can't run now.
Paddling along. It's hilarious to watch. It's like most, there's the Tom Cruise, and he's like, that's hilarious to watch.
Apparently, the Terminator 2, the guy that played the T-1000, Robert Patrick or something like that,
right,
had run track and whatnot in college, and he was running so fast he was messing up the scene where he's chasing them when they're getting on the motorcycle and trying to get away from him, and he was catching them.
Run more
like,
mechanical.
Run slower.
Stop right now. Run more mechanical.
Slower.
Take higher steps or something. Yeah, exactly. All right. I got nothing else. How about you?
Nah, I think we've covered a lot of stuff today.
Yeah.
Of course, remind again people one more time. Well, I don't know why I wait to the very end, but call us at the Slack line, 904-549-9024.
And vote Afroman. 2028.
Like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Hey, I want to ask Carlo a question. Can you hear me?